Hello and welcome to The Money Honey, the show that brings together women in property, finance, and construction. Today, I have invited a new Money Honey into my life because we've actually never met before. I know of her because I see her a lot on social media. Plus, she is at the top of her game. She is an award-winning insurance advisor and she runs a phenomenal brokerage, and she's here to tell us today how does she do it. So, for today's show, although I have someone who is at the top of their game, is in leadership, and is award winning, I just want to take this moment to let you know, if you're listening to this, that we don't just invite award winning advisors or women to the show, because the reason I need to say this is there was a lady that I wanted to invite, and I did invite her, and she turned around and said, "Oh no, I don't think I've got anything good to say. Who was going to listen to me?" And I was just like, oh my God, why? How on earth do you think that about yourself? And I told her off. I was like, never speak like that about yourself ever again. If I've invited you on the show, it is for a reason. And whatever value I've seen in you, it is worth it. You are worth every single bit of value that you have. You don't need a title. You don't need an award. You don't need a trophy to be valuable. And so I got a bit conscious about the fact that actually, yes, there has been a lot of speakers on the show that are in leadership, that are on director boards, that are award winning, that have had a 30-year career. And I don't want you to compare yourself to them. We want to see faces from all over, right? From all backgrounds, all levels. So you are absolutely worth it. If you are a woman in finance or property or construction, at whatever level you're at, remember that being on the show, you could just be that one person that person needs to listen to. I could be a listener listening in, and maybe I don't relate to that particular speaker that is currently speaking, but you could be that next speaker that helps me see that hope or that value within myself. So please, please, please be inspired by this next guest that I'm about to bring on the show, because she is phenomenal. But please don't let this dwindle your own sparkle, okay? So without further ado, I want to introduce Kathryn Knowles from Cura. She is, like I said, award-winning. She's a specialist insurance advisor working within the personal, business, and group life insurance. She does critical illness cover and income protection. She offers advice within the UK and internationally, actually. Kathryn is known for her ability to humanize protection conversations. And this, guys, this is the word, right? Because Manuka Media, we believe in making financial services human. That's what we say. And when Kathryn said that in her bio, I was like, yes, this is why we feel that connection online with one another. So I'm about to bring her on the show because I've had enough of my own voice and I can't wait to hear from her. So let's do this. Hi, Kathryn.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
I am good, thank you. I was just listening to that intro as well, though, and I was thinking about that person who obviously has like a little bit of imposter syndrome, and I'm thinking, I have that too, kind of thing. It's amazing, and I think it is very much like quite a female characteristic that we do tend to feel imposter syndrome. Why am I here? Why is someone listening to me? And it's really, really hard to sort of try and overcome, isn't it? It's intense.
Thank you so much for actually saying that, because a lot of women listening to this are looking at this very senior woman on a director board or an award winning advisor, and they just think, well, that can never be me. That's not me. And that's the kind of people that get press coverage, and I don't deserve it. And I've told that person and everyone else who's had a little wobble, I've said, look, every single person, every single senior member that has been on the show has imposter syndrome. We all have it. So thank you for being honest about that, because it is true. We do have it. But how do you do it, Kathryn? How have you surpassed that and built a large brokerage to the point where you are recognized across the industry? How did you do that?
It's It's been a mixture of things, obviously. So I own the company with my husband, and we've built it together, and we have a team with us and everything. And I think a key thing for me was having to do it for other people. So a lot of the time, in terms of our client base, we're helping people who don't find getting insurance particularly easy, and it's often to do with health conditions. And for both me and my husband, it was a case of we need to get a voice out there for these people who are struggling. I'm one of those people. I struggle to get insurance because of my health. So it was a case of speaking for my inner self to say to people in the insurance industry, hang on a minute, no, insure me. But then all the other people as well. And it was a case of, well, how are we going to make change? Well, the way that we're going to make change is to have a voice. And so we started doing things like trying to go for awards. We had no idea. We were up against firms that, we're just a little small firm in Filing, North Yorkshire, if anybody's familiar with it. So we're literally in farming country, away from all the big cities, everything like that. At the time, there was about 12 of us in the company. And, you can see all these past award winners, and there's hundreds of people there where you know that they've got so much money compared to you as well, that they are really going to be huge marketing departments. There's going to be someone who's dedicated to write these award entries, everything like that. And it's really quite daunting, but we were just like, no, we need to get this out there. So we did. We started putting some marketing out there. And at the time when we started doing a lot of the social media, I have to say, I don't think there was people doing social media in insurance and in finance, but we did it very much from we're giving out information. We're not doing a call to action, ring us. We're putting out some fun, different things that we'd seen, and it got some attention. So we then started to go to these awardees, and then from there as well, it's also, and it's true, when you start doing stuff like that, there's maybe journalists around, or you might see something, a commentary, and you might say to a journalist, well, do you know what, actually, I've got a really good opinion on that. Or they might come to you and say, do you have an opinion on this? I've seen you recently. I think you're quite new. Do you have, and then just from there, it ends up spiraling more than you realize. It's a lot to do with informal networking. A lot of my background is informal networking. And so it's things like that. It's getting to know people. At first, it is trying to turn up to these things, as always, there's that big divide between, do you do it in person? Can you do it online? And I do a lot of stuff online, but I think that for probably a lot of people, if they were starting out, that doing as much in person as possible, so people really do see you and get to remember you, that can be a really, really big advantage. I'm kind of at a stage now where I can do a lot online and attend meetings and be involved in things. And it's, people really know me very, very well. But it's a journey. It is such a journey. And, if I'm asked to do a speaker presentation or something like that, absolutely, there is still that imposter syndrome of, why are these people going to be listening to me? And to be honest, I kind of do like a little thing that I kind of imagine that I'm wearing a mask and like I'm performing in a play or something. And that's how I cope with it. I don't think, oh, this is just Kathryn with a northern accent who actually doesn't really socialize with people a lot and all this kind of stuff. I think stuff like, I am here. You want to hear from me? And I give myself a character where I am this person that people want to listen to. And that can just help me overcome a little bit when I'm stood in front of people and I'm needing to talk.
Well, that's a good top tip, I guess. That's a one way of dealing with imposter syndrome. Just putting on that, and I don't want to make it out like it's about faking it or not being yourself. I don't think that's what you're saying. I think it's
No,
more
it's not.
about it's about allowing yourself to be the person that you would want to see up there on stage. And I go through a process very similar to that, where if I'm going to be doing a speech on a stage or to a room full of entrepreneurs and mostly mortgage advisors and IFAs, I just visualize myself thinking, who would I want to see up there? How would I want to see them act? How would they dress? How would they walk? If I were confident, what would I do? What would the confident version of me do? And you kind of play, like you say, you play that character. It doesn't mean you're still not shy. Doesn't mean you're still not, shivering and nervous. You are focusing on the future self that you do want to be.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's exactly it. As you say, you're not faking, you're not being someone else, a completely different character. You're just becoming, you're just saying to yourself, no, I am confident and I'm going to step into that role
Yes.
of confidence. It is super, super hard at times. And I always found as well that it's really, I got a lot of comfort from maybe seeing the room beforehand and like seeing how it's going to be set up. So if I knew I was going to be sat down, I'd feel a lot more comfortable for whatever reason. I feel a lot more comfortable if I'm sat down speaking to people. I think it's just one less thing to think about, in a sense, I just stand there and think, what am I doing with my hands? Am I stood in the right angle or something for different people? But then if I was going to be stood, am I going to have like a lectern there that I can maybe use as like a safety point and like a bit of an anchor that I can maybe feel like I can hide behind at times if I need to?
Yes, I see what you mean.
There's just so many things that you can do. And I think if you go and if you see, and as a woman, I think it's hard sometimes to go to these things and see a woman because there's not always women there. There is obviously been a huge drive to get women speaking, which is fantastic. But you're going to see people and you're going to think, right, you know what, she's doing it like this, she's doing it like that, as well as listening. And you can play that back and sort of think, right, okay. And I think it's important to know that for the majority of people, when they've got up there, like for myself, I didn't start off as award winning. I didn't start off owning my own business. It's a progression that happens. It doesn't happen on day one. It happens over time, and we all get there.
I absolutely love that. Sorry, I was on mute because I tend to interrupt people when I'm not on mute and I talk over them. So I get really, really excited. So I mute myself so that I can make all the noises in the background like, oh, yeah, oh, right. So I try to basically go on mute. And now I just realized I wasn't on mute, so you couldn't hear me. So, yeah, I love the fact that you take on the journey, regardless of where you are on the journey, you do the very best that you can in that position that you're in. So yes. At the beginning, you bravely went out and you put your opinion out there. You said, you spoke to some journalists and you said, yes, I do have an opinion about this.
Yep.
Now, Kathryn, because we've never met, I'll give you like a really quick intro into what I do. But basically, how you got yourself to the point of getting yourself out there is what I teach other financial advisors, protection advisors, and mortgage brokers to do. Brilliant. Because it doesn't come naturally to everybody. And actually, that point you made about being prepared. So, like, for example, knowing what the room looks like in advance before you need to speak helps you relax your anxiety. And that's exactly how, as a digital marketing and content marketing specialist, I help mortgage brokers and IFAs get themselves out there by helping them prepare and helping them be more organized in the strategy of how they're going to do things, how to use the social media channels, what they're going to say, how they're going to say it, what is your brand, what makes you different, how are you going to stand out. So that's exactly what I helped them do. But you took yourself there, right? Yeah. All those years ago, at the time, probably when nobody was doing it in your industry.
There wasn't many people, I have to say, and especially videos. So me just sat and I started them all off, and this again really made us stand out. I started off doing videos with a cup of tea on my sofa, and it was just a case of me sat there going, "Hi everybody, I'm going to be talking about how to get insurance if you've had breast cancer." And it was just sort of like less than a 2-minute video, so really easy to get onto different social media channels. That just gave a bit of an indication as to what we would need to know as a broker, what the insurance would not want to know, what the potential terms could be. And I say it was all about getting information out there. It wasn't calls to action. Sorry, excuse me, I'm just going to have a cough. It was just about doing that. And I became known as sort of like the lady sat on the sofa with a cup of tea. And nobody else was doing that at all. And it just kind of escalated from there. It just got bigger and bigger. I did something known as I still do it now, known as the Cura Vision ABCs. And that just kind of starts off with like a picture of a TV on it. And it'll say something like Mr. E on it. And it'll be maybe something to do with someone who's had epilepsy. And so it was just trying to do so like little things that people could recognize very quickly to go, right, okay, this is this kind of content that's going to be coming out now. And I mean, in those ones as well, I mean, everybody to each their own to what to do. I'm usually sat there with a cup of tea. I actually came across one the other day and I forgot about it. I'm actually breastfeeding my youngest, and you can just see his head kind of popping up a little bit at the bottom. But for us, and the fact that we have our own company, and for anybody who does have their own company, you'll know that you are doing stuff all the time. And it's very, very hard to escape and to have things fully like maternity leave and stuff like that. That was just part of the process that I just needed to incorporate my family life into doing videos. And it's been incredibly helpful, especially, when you're thinking about things like your target market. So our target is anybody, anybody at all in the UK who wants protection insurance. A lot of people who've, with health conditions, that's typically a lot of the people we support. But the other part is other IFAs. So for people who signpost their clients to us to help them, that could be because of health. It could just be because they don't want to do the insurances that we do, which is absolutely fine. And so by having those really open videos where it's just me sat there talking to people, making sense, obviously, as well, being very professional and making sense about what I do, but then also supporting. I'm very big on Twitter, so supporting with just random conversations on Twitter about something my kid's done. The most recent one is I put up an image of my 5-year-old is doing hide and seek. It's half term here. He's doing hide and seek, and he was counting. He was in the corner, and he was counting away, and we established he had a stone in his hand, and my frosted glass window, my inner door, now has a lovely smiley-faced person on it from the stone. And putting that out, and people seeing that, the people are seeing that I'm human. They're seeing that I'm just this person like anybody else. The professional people are seeing that I'm putting content out there that makes sense to them. It's also providing. It's a bit of an image into my world and into my life. Without it being gimmicky as well. I think that's a big thing. I think people, and what we've always tried to stay away from is the idea that, Cura is a business, but Cura is me and my husband. We have run the business. It's a family-run business. So the majority of our stuff comes from me and Alan, because we want people to see us, because we are the core of what the company is. And people really, really respond to that and respect that.
This is perfect. This is exactly what I preach on a day-to-day basis. I'm like, guys, you are a business owner, you own the brand, but you are the brand. You are the personal brand within, the business is not, or the brand is not Cura. Like, that's the logo, that's the company name, that's what you've got on the company's house register. But really, the brand is you. What's your husband's name? Sorry, Kathryn.
It's Alan.
Alan, yeah.
Knowles,
So, such
he's not as big on the social.
No, he might not be, but I'm sure put him in front of, 10 potential customers and he'll work with 11. You'll end up getting 11 out of it. I'm sure he really does.
He's very, very much like that.
Yeah. And this is exactly what's missing in financial services, is that human element. It's getting better. I think people are starting, thanks to people like you, the pioneers and the leaders of bringing social media into financial services. We've been able to see a few more people come out of the woodworks and actually show their personality. And they're the ones that, if they do it for long enough, they're the ones that are going to be succeeding. And there is no right or wrong way to do it, pretty much. It's making sure that you are being yourself, and that people buy from people, right? And so they need to see, well, who is Kathryn and Alan, and why would I refer business to them? Or why would I bring all my ailments and all my disabilities and all my illnesses to someone like Kathryn? How's she going to understand me? How's she going to support me? I think that is so important in your industry, because you're dealing with such sensitive cases, such sensitive subjects, that you have to be personable. There is no other way.
There isn't. It's, as you say, the sensitivity. So we have really specific things as well for our team, so that they have processes to be able, and for us to support them and help them, because they are hearing things at times that most people wouldn't expect to hear. And, they're hearing these stories of these people, and it's really important, because obviously we're not medically trained. We are, very, very well trained in medical conditions, but we're certainly not counsellors or anything of that kind of sort. And you do tend to find with counsellors that they have people who are counsellors for them to help them download everything they've been through. And you'll suddenly find that people can tell us the most intense and graphic backgrounds that you can possibly imagine. And it's our job to remain professional through all of that. And, this person is there for us to support them, to listen to them. And then it's making sure that for us as a company that we really kind of, just make sure that we support our team and our clients in the best way. But there was something that you said there about that with the social media, and there was part of me that suddenly thought, oh, I don't know if I disagree slightly with that. So I hope that's okay. Well, that was because you potentially can't, you can't really go wrong. Now, I have to say, I was
Yeah.
going to say, experts like you are really, really vital for people. And I can't state that enough, especially if you are blending your work persona and what you are bringing out in your social. So obviously my Twitter account is Kathryn at Cura, but it's my personal as well. So it's my personal and my business. It all blends together. Now, that's fine. I'm very comfortable with my content. I don't put anything out there that I shouldn't do. But there have been, and I've personally experienced it, where people in the financial space have said things and potentially said things to me at times. There's a couple of specific instances where it wasn't okay at all. And actually, there ends up being investigations from potentially regulatory bodies and from employers and things like that to basically say, you can't be doing this. You can't say that. You are you. This is your personal accounts, fair enough, but you are actually still connected to this company and you must be so careful. So like you say, it's hard to go wrong because the way that when it does go wrong, it's usually when somebody has said something that's quite ethically or morally hard for anybody to take on board. So it's unusual to go to that place, but that's why it's so important to speak to people like you, because you can pretty much do those kind of disclaimers that go, don't ever comment about this. If someone says this, go have 10 minutes. Don't respond straight away. Have a cuppa, have something, have a chill out before you respond. Go back, kind of, and maybe don't respond. Or once you've chilled out, you're able to respond, things like that. So I hope I put that in there.
No, thank you. No, thank you for picking up on that point, because I think I was just trying to make a very quick point, but I could literally talk about it for hours. But I'll add a caveat to what I said about not being able to go wrong, or you can't go wrong. What I meant by that is, as a person, as in you can't be taught how to be like yourself. So all you can do is be yourself. However, obviously, if we're talking about work and compliance and, being ethical and being mindful of how you're putting your information out there, then absolutely that's what I coach them through. I always say as well, just because I'm a social media manager and you happen to be an advisor with a budget does not mean we can work together.
Yeah.
I will absolutely not take you on if you do not have the right ethos, if you haven't got the right values, if you're just trying to use social media as a way to win deals and attract, clients and basically try and sell something, we are not compatible, right? If someone says to me, oh, I've seen that you're out there, you're putting yourself out there as someone who can generate leads for mortgage brokers. I'm like, no. I don't generate leads for mortgage brokers. I don't generate leads for protection advisors. That is a byproduct of what happens on social media. When you put yourself out there, you will inevitably get leads, but no, that is not the intention. The intention is to educate and inform the public about the importance of what you offer, is to educate them first and foremost, to make it more personable and to make it more relatable, and then to obviously get your name out there, because out of sight, out of mind. If you happen to get a gazillion leads off the back of that, congratulations, well done. Like, amazing, well done for you. But that's not what my intention is. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, there are some that go a little bit crazy with comments and trolling and, something happens in the news and they post about it. And I can't really comment on what exactly, but you're just like, we don't really need to know that that's what you think. Like, political stances,
Exactly.
there was like one post of one of my clients, and I almost felt like I was managing a Donald Trump. I have to say that. Like, honestly, it was like that kind of situation. I was like, can you not comment that? Can you please just not do that? And he's like, yeah, but it's my Facebook page. I was like, yeah, but I'm your social media manager and you've asked me to put out XYZ content and it's already curated and signed off by compliance and it's going out, and then you see something on the news, you think it's funny to comment on it, and then it goes out, and I was like, it just doesn't feel right for me, let alone like people watching you. So if you think this is funny for your mates, like just text them on WhatsApp or something, but not really publicly. We don't need to know like your so anyway, yes, absolutely you can get it wrong. You absolutely can get it wrong on social media, but that's why if you don't know what you're doing on your own, you need to get some help. So thank you for shining a light on that, because I think it is important for people to not just dabble with social media and be like, well, how hard could this be? I'll just give it a go, because it can get you into a lot of trouble done badly.
It can do. And I say, I think for the majority, I think you're right, for the absolute majority of people, there's not going to be any issues whatsoever. But, I suppose it's one of those things. I sometimes wonder, if you're not prepared to say it in front of your mum's face, then probably don't say it on social media.
That's a good one. There you go. Always think your mum is watching over you. Wherever
it's not compliance watching you, it's your mum. That's even worse.
That's hilarious. I love that. My mum does actually watch everything I post. She is literally my number one fan.
She does. My mum links it. She likes everything, and it's like, it's the first thing. It's like, oh, someone's like, oh, it's my mum.
Oh yeah. Totally know what you're talking about. So we've come to the end of the show, Kathryn, and I've loved getting to know you. Just having this, one-to-one time with Kathryn, I can see what your clients, how your clients feel, basically, and I can see that how you are online is exactly how you are in person. So you've got your marketing and your branding absolutely spot on. That is exactly the perfect balance and combination of face-to-face and digital. So before we tune out and leave our listeners with one final thought. Now, this show is about women in finance, right? Yeah. Women in property and women in construction. It is a show that has gone the other way. We are not, it's not an equal, a lot of men will say, well, that's not equal, it's more women. Well, we have to tip that balance, right? Yeah. In order for us to regain equality, we have to tip it the other way. So what would your kind of final send-off message be based on the theme of the show for anyone listening?
That's a tricky one. I would, it's that thing of, I'd say don't be scared. I would just try and say, don't be scared. If you put a social post out there, assuming that the content is not controversial in any way or form, what harm is it going to do? Just give it a go. It's like, something like, isn't it, with Twitter, if it's not seen within the first 5 minutes, or this used to be years ago, if it's not seen in 5 minutes, then it's gone, it's disappeared, it's as if it's never happened. So why not give it a go? And I think as well, don't put too much pressure on yourself as well. So, it can get really intense if you're suddenly wanting, if you're doing it on your own, basically, if you were to do it on your own, don't put too much pressure, because, to suddenly do Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, potentially YouTube and TikTok, that is potentially a full-time job in its own, to really, really do it properly and to be getting the kind of attention that you want from it, and because that's the purpose that you're doing it for. So maybe just find an area which feels good for you. So with Instagram, you're going to be doing video, and it's going to be a certain length of time. With TikTok, you're probably going to want to be doing some of the trends and different things like that. I don't really understand TikTok. I'm that age where I'm like, I don't get it. I'll just
no, you got it.
That's videos. But for me, Twitter, that's where I kind of really, really found my home. Obviously, LinkedIn, there's so much that can be done on LinkedIn as well in terms of especially your business networking. But yeah, I found Twitter. That's the one I tend to be on, because it just suits me. It's a natural fit. I've tried some of the others and I've just thought, I just don't have time. I don't have, I can't do all of this on my own. So yeah, don't be scared. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Maybe find some people that you like the look of what they've done, and sort of, I don't obviously copy them, but think, I wonder if I could do that. Just try and build your confidence a little bit.
Yeah, that's a fantastic top tip there, because it's not exactly about copying, but it is about seeing that it can be done and that someone else has got that style that you may relate to, and therefore you can bring your own flavor to it, for sure. But yeah, would love to chat with you offline at some point about your Twitter stuff, because that actually never comes up. Twitter was something that no advisor tends to use unless they're just reading the news. So would love to know how that's working out for you. But you've been an amazing guest on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your journey with the listeners, because I know that whatever level people come in at the listening to this show, I know they'll get plenty of value from this. So thank you again, and I will see you offline. No, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Bye.